move on with this next panel session. It's called Close But No Cigar. Small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, make up over 99% of the total number of businesses across the globe. And in Malaysia, implementing the digital conversions with respect to SMEs, whether successful or not, is a daunting step to make. Yesterday's Teh Tarik session with the Deputy Minister of MITI, there was an interesting insight that I'll bring into today. Yeah? Some of the reasons why SMEs are not applying for grants are a trust deficit with the government, worried about tax auditors coming after them, and the fact that SMEs just don't want to take out money and invest in I 4.0. Lacking resources to go for a shotgun approach, the investments must be precise and they must immediately turn profit in a relatively short space of time. That is the struggle of the SME, ladies and gentlemen. So in order to meet the challenges of making everything smart, economical, and resource-friendly, and to moderate the topic, close but no cigar, SMEs facing hits and misses to close the I 4.0 gap. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite Yang Berbahagia, Dato Sri Ganesh Palaniappan, Chairman of SG Education Group. Since 1999, SG Education Group has been a pioneer in TVET education, or TVET, and to shape a skilled workforce in Malaysia, setting up private training centers that conducts vocational courses. And apart from accreditation by Department of Skills Development, SG Academy also carries international accreditations from several UK and US universities. Correct me if I'm wrong. So once again, the floor is over to you, Yang Berbahagia Dato Sri Ganesh Palaniappan.
Before we introduce the topic, I think we should invite the panelists as well.
Shall I do that for you, sir? No problem.
I think you better invite.
Sure, no worries. To engage Yang Berbahagia Dato Sri Ganesh, ladies and gentlemen, let's invite our panelists consisting of Mr. Callum Chen, Chief Executive Officer of LH Plus Sdn Bhd. We have Mr. Hasbi Yusof, Managing Director of Frost & Sullivan Malaysia. Please inviting Dr. Hanafia Yusof, founder of Robopreneur Sdn Bhd. And completing the panel is Mr. Heng Chan Yi, Vice President of Globetronics Technology Berhad. Let's give a round of applause. Ms. Heng, do take a seat. Squeezed in right in the middle, the rose among the thorns. Yang Berbahagia Dato, the panel is yours.
Okay, without further ado, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, MTDC, especially to the CEO, to invite us over for the great session here. Close but no cigar. When I first heard the topic, it's like, hey, what is this about technology and what am I going to talk about cigar? Then I figured it out. You know, we are going to talk about something which is a very relevant topic. I have been a speaker and a moderator in the last couple of months for all related to IR4, but this is the most relevant topic that I think MTDC has chosen for us to I will not say debate, discuss on. All right? So SME facing hits and misses to close the IR4 gap. I'd like to amplify our good friend there from SKF, a Swedish gentleman which loves the Malaysian culture. He mentioned it right. He said that Malaysia is a good place. It's a beautiful place that we can do business, and it's very encouraging to be here. You guys can really do, and we can do all kind of networking and so on to achieve what we want to achieve. But having said that, since he already certain and he endorsed Malaysia to grow further in IR 4.0, we still face challenges. I like to be very specific today, where it's very obvious there's a small take-up rate had proven the biggest challenge the government faced to close the gap with more technological advanced Asian economies such as China and Japan. When the region is growing towards IR4, we notice that in our side, the SMEs have a small take-up rate. And I think local businesses are already aware of the importance of IR4 because there's so many conferences and things happening around the globe and the region. But what is more important here is the implementation. We don't see this moving. There's a fear, or whenever there is a rollout plan, why we don't see this happening, right? So I would like to probably ask our successful long-term and also the president of Malaysian Plastic Association, I believe.
Honorary President.
Honorary President, Mr. Callum here, he may want to give his thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you. Tan Sri Abdul Rahman Mahmad, Chairman of MTDC, Dr. Noor Halim, CEO of MTDC, board members of MTDC, distinguished moderators, speakers, and Chu Hai. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Oh, come on. You can do better than show me your passion, show me your enthusiasm, and show me your energy. When you're half dead, I'll be half dead, okay? Let's try it again. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you see, it makes a lot of difference, all about attitude. LH Plus is a 100% owned family. This is our 72nd year. My late father started the business on 1st July 1947. So you can guess my age, huh? I'm the second generation. 100% family-owned business. But other than the head of local sales, all head of departments are non-family members. We are a very different kind of traditional family business because I believe in creating level playing field where people are promoted based on merits and not on bloodline or how long you've been with the company. Like what Mr. Fogelberg, we call you Anders easier, said. It's not how long you've been with the company, but how much you contribute and how well you move up. Every time people come to my company, the senior staff, when I interview them, I will show them my 10 fingers. And they look at me, yes. I said, yeah, my fingers are long and short, which means I may be the CEO, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. And here, we encourage people to explore. And it's all right, because I think Karamjit asked a very good question. Understanding Malaysian mentality. Many bosses only want to see success, they don't want to see failures. But if you don't try, you never learn. So what I'm going to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, is that not the what's of Industry 4.0, but the how. We was talking earlier on in the room, the Tan Sri and Dr. Noor Halim. 1 year is approaching. What has been done? And why isn't it moving? So what needs to be done about it? MPMA, the Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association, where I'm the honorary president, we embarked on Industry 4.0 back in May 2015. People talk about it now. We're actually ahead of many associations. When we brought in the German speakers and Philip Ramin, I still remember, I saw the flyer. I'm very particular, very choosy about the courses I attend. Not because I'm arrogant, because we only have 24 hours. We want to make sure that we go there and not waste time. I saw Industry 4.0, something new. I Googled a bit, and I saw it's something I want. And I told myself, and it was, by the way, held in GMI in Bangi. And I said, quite far, But if I don't like it, I will chop it after lunch in a very diplomatic manner. I stayed the whole day and was on. Then the vice president of MPMA, Dr. Noraini, I saw her, I said, Dato, back then she was not Dato yet. I said, Noraini, why are you attending this seminar? He said, I saw your name, so I'm also attending. I mean, these are the things we share a lot of things at MPMA and no politics. And this is my 41st year with MPMA on a voluntary basis. So ladies and gentlemen, you can guess my age again, closer now. But the point is, at the end of the day, it's all about giving back. We spoke about questions just now, and they spoke about this. The art and science of asking questions is the source of all knowledge. I'm only a simple Form 5 boy. Okay, I read a lot. I try to find more time to read, but I ask a lot of questions. And this is how I learn. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look stupid. You may look stupid for that couple of seconds, but at the end of the day, you get to learn. Learn it from the horse's mouth. Next, please. Do I have the pointer where I can use? Thank you. Green one, huh? Okay. Don't press the wrong button, we always say. Okay, LH Plus. If you look closely, ladies and gentlemen, where is the point? Okay, this is the pointer. Last time was S, Sharikat Lee Huat Plastics Industry. This logo is 40 over years old. People say, why the lion? I said, that's the king of the jungle. Any intelligent fool can make things bigger and more complex. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. And, ladies and gentlemen, Industry 4.0 is not rocket science. A lot of common sense And you do not need to start with all the 9 pillars. And you don't need to have a lot of money or a lot of knowledge. Look at the low-hanging fruits. What are things that you need to do? Of course, we always say walk before you run. Of course, you talk about autonomous robots, simulation, all this. You can get it on when you Google. You want Frost & Sullivan, you want Boston Consulting, you want McKinsey, it's all there. But in Industry 4.0 starts with one thing and one thing first: digitalization and connectivity. And we were talking why it did not take off. I also want to stress, ladies and gentlemen, Industry 4.0 is not the priority of SMEs. SME want to get the business, get the money, start production, collect the money, and roll again. So when you talk about all this, they say we are not there yet. Just now, Anders gave a very good example of big data. Can anyone tell me which example was that? Anyone wants to try? Big data in one of his presentation. The milkshake. McDonald's was putting people there to look at it, studying different places, what time they come, male, female, what age, what did they do, how did they buy, what flavor and all that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, big data is where you make informed decision. And if you have the right data, you make the right decision, you bloom. As simple as that. Disruption, I think all this, I learned a lot from you, Anders, today. And again, if we want to talk about Industry 4.0, let's say my machines, which are the machines that's giving me problem? What shift? What kind of issue? Why the rejects are high? Is it because of the material, the master batch? Is it because of the people, the mold, or the machine? All these are informed decisions. Without all these decisions, you don't know how to act and what decisions to make. So the other thing that's right, to get all this big data, you need connectivity. To do connectivity, you need internet. My company was lucky to be one of the 4 chosen pilot projects supported by PSMB, or the HRDC, Human Resource Development Corporation, where they give certain amount and we did all these things. And the moment we started, getting all those monitor screens to do connectivity, we found one thing: internet not stable. If your internet is not stable, how do you do connectivity? But then, ladies and gentlemen, it's okay. This is a learning curve. So we brought it up and they stabilized all that. Then the second thing we found is that you talk about system integration. We actually practice that. When you talk about, let's say, the simulation, when people talk about simulation, it's not just the product itself. It is, let's say in the case of plastic, instead of making the mold, then we do the production. We simulated what we call CAD/CAM CAE, computer designing, computer machining, and computer-aided engineering, where we do all the simulation and we do it before we even make the mold. That's why when T0 is very good. So I think we skip this. Internet of Things, of course, cybersecurity, cloud computing, all this are done by the big boys. Additive manufacturing is 3D printing. We started this about 30 years ago, already doing 3D printing. Now the new one, ladies and gentlemen, is not plastics. It's 3D printing in metal, where they do all these other things. Augmented reality, of course, then big data, of course. What I want to share in German is building a plus team. People talk about technology. My company, we talk about culture. Culture where people are happy coming to work. And we always joke, if we want to punish that person, we ask a person to go and live for 2 weeks and we pay. They will be so bored, they want to come back fast. The culture where people caring and sharing. When I started talking about culture, some of my team asked me, Callum, what kind of culture do you want? I said, the moment you ask this question shows you don't understand. I may be the CEO, the Chief Entertainment Officer. So my job, excuse my language, religion, is to support, motivate, and cake things when I have to cake. Okay? That's my job as a Chief Entertainment Officer. They do the job, and I keep them entertained. The culture is where we decide, not me. We decide as a team. And of course, talent. LH Plus is a small company. For the last 2 years, we have been investing about 400,000 ringgit a year in training. Okay, of course, when you compare to my turnover, it's only 0.4%. And I said, we are a small company, but invest in training. We do, fire drill 4 times a year, twice in the morning, twice at night, every year. We have competent first aiders. Right now, we have about 53. And all these are repeated every year. People say, why do you need to be competent first aider when you're doing plastics? I said, in the event of heart attack, it's at 2-3 minutes, which is very critical. Whether it's in the factory, in the hostel, in the office, or on the roadside. Anyone. If we can save one person, we should be happy. And of course, we invest in our people, in all the training, with all the ISO certification. We are now moving from good quality houseware to medical products. So the 1345, we should be certified by end of this year. Then we just got news that under pharma, the Disney projects, we are now an approved manufacturer for all Disney's characters. So my point is, gentlemen, you keep challenging yourself to move to the next level of competency. And not only that, I think very important, we have to give the younger people, a roadmap. You've got to let them know their career path so that people will stay on. And if you stay in my company for 5 years, there's still new kid on the block. Then, of course, the 5S. Why talk about Industry 4.0 when your house is not even in order? I mean, basic things like, cleanliness, having a nice factory. Your machines may be old, ladies and gentlemen. It don't mean that you necessarily have new machines. It can be old, but keep it, the smart manufacturing, smart maintenance. Do it well, maintain it well, and manage your cost. An example will be one guy who dressed everything branded, but the clothes are crumbled, the shoes are not shine, and the pants creases, versus another guy who just wears normal clothing, but very clean, very kempt, hair is done well. I mean, who do you feel better with? Of course, the second guy. Same thing with the company. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get an example, ask yourself, if you were the customer and you go into the company, what would impress you to give them the business? As simple as that. Then, of course, machine maintenance. Our machines, some are 18, 19 years old, but we maintain it well. New coat of paint, maintenance, and the machines runs well. Between this year and next, we will be investing about 20 million ringgit in the latest technology, high-speed German machine, going to tin wall medical and also tin wall products. And it's changing again. So 4 machines in, another 7 coming end of November, another 6 more coming early January 2020, and moving. So what we do, we sell off the old ones, and new one comes in. Investing in training, this is very important. I think Anders spoke about this, training all these people, and if they do leave, they still be in the industry. And many, I do understand the problem with HRDF. Why many SME, they don't invest in training. I was a council member and then later a director in PSMB for about 12 years. That was about in the 90s to early 20s. One of the biggest issues, SME said, if I train my guy, they come back, they ask for higher salary, other people pinch them and all that. Then I said, if your guy comes back, he can do a good role, he can help you make more money, be more efficient, and train your other workers. Don't you think that guy should be paid more? Simple as that. And if a person leaves a company because the other company is paying them 500 ringgit more, let them go. You can train 1, you can train 10, you can train 100. But we should not use that excuse not to train. But ladies and gentlemen, imagine your people are well trained and the head is moving, but the body is not moving. What is that? And people say, oh, expensive to hire those. Don't say very high professionals, those better qualified people. Wait till they hire all the amateurs and see what they do to your company. You will keep going down the drain. So this is very quick, ladies and gentlemen, because time constraint. Okay, this is LH Plus factory, production area, all LED lights, office, okay, office, factory, everything LED. We are harvesting rainwater, and my people told me, boss, water's so cheap, how much can you save? I said, good. You see, I encourage him to talk. I said, good. I said, I'm not looking at saving the cost of water. I'm looking at water as a resource. And when the well is dry, people will know the value of water. So again, the culture. We have really been approved to do the solar panel, but I'm holding back because of my investment. So all this is, like I said, I'm very particular. Even the top part, I'm touch, make sure no dust. And one day the guy was looking, I said, why is it dirty? Then he looked at me, I looked at him, foreign worker leader. He said, boss, atas tak, orang tak nak tengok. Top part people don't, you know. So I tell you, everyone was pretending to be very busy, but everyone was straining their eyes and their ears to listen. Then I said, you mandi, sampai sini lah, sini tak ada mandi. No, I look at him. You are laughing, so I laugh, he laughed. I tell you, the whole factory was laughing. Isn't it legitimate? The point I'm trying to get to is this. Many bosses like to yell. They like to scold. Why spoil their day and spoil your day? You want to get a message across. Do it in a nice way. Let them save face. They may be foreign workers, but we have to respect them. So we smile, they smile. I say, hey, like kali ya jangan lah. So now any factory, any machine we touch is clean. But the point is respect them. But get the message across. And I'm also very particular about cleanliness. This in-house mold department, we buy mainly Japanese machine. We make our own mold. But even then, we cannot cope. We make about 150 molds a year. And we're actually bigger than many mold makers. But recently, because of the influx of the job coming in at the same time, I actually outsourced about 3.5 million ringgit worth of mold to another company who is a professional in making gold. Their standard is much higher than ours. You know, very good, thin wall, high speed. And with the German machine, just to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, people said, old machines, your cost is low. I said, yes, up to a level. Because we are tier 1 supply for newer Rubbermaid. Anything Rubbermaid, Tupperware bottles made in Malaysia are all made by us. Now, Tupperware Switzerland is also coming to us. You see, when you build your name, people will come to you. So what we did was, we make the thicker wall, but with a thin wall, medical products, where they talk about small quantities, 8 million. We are working on one job, 24 million a year, 2 million pieces a month, non-stop. When you do thin wall like that, you need high-speed German machine. Our current machine, if we do it, we do about 25, 30 seconds. With the new machine, 6 seconds to do 6 cavities. So imagine the cost. Machine is double the price, but the cost is there. Okay, some of the products we're doing. Then we also move from OEM, original equipment manufacturing, to ODM, original design, to OBM, original brand. And this one is where we do for Japan, Halo and Sin, for the Japanese market. So we spoke about this basic infrastructure. Look at your water. How clean is your water? I mean, piping system, like our veins, after many years, you don't juggle, cholesterol becomes thick. So the blood flows slow. Same thing with the water. Because our water is hard, you have the scales, it goes slow, so the temperature goes up. The cycle time becomes longer. It's as simple as that. So you have to descale it, look at all these things. Electricity. If you don't even have enough electricity current and supply, how can you move? Air. Your air, whether it's clean, whether it's dry, whether the bar going in and coming out is enough, and piping system and supporting equipment. So all these things, ladies and gentlemen, these are the basic things you look at before you even talk about Industry 4.0. Learn to walk before you learn to run. So to end the meeting, the same boiling water that softens the potato hardens the egg. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is not about the situation. It's about us. If you want to find excuses, you get thousands of money. You know, if you really want to do something, you find a way. If you don't, you find an excuse. So this is what we're going to talk. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And if you want to contact me, this is my contact number, everything. I'm not a consultant. So don't get me wrong. We were talking with Tan Sri Raman and Dr. Noor Halim. How can we help SME move to the next level, embrace 4.0, and we spoke about 5 M's. Then maybe another session we will share with you, where we will get companies who are keen to register on a dedicated website. We will interview them to make sure that they're committed, they're ready, and then we will get them to do, with this group, help them to move into Industry 4.0. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Callum. Actually, the truth is he answered the subsequent questions that I want to ask also. So his session is like almost he covered everything in successful story. Anyway, that's from the perspective of successful businessman here who have adopted IR 4.0, probably not all the pillars, but he's moving towards the other pillars as well. Now, the question is simple. Close but no cigar, right? He has his cigar already, right? And he's been smoking, he can have many more cigars with him. The problem is why there are small numbers of take-up rates there. Though our friend from Sweden has mentioned that this is a great place to do business, to adopt, and we can change the culture. I think it took about 2 years to change the culture and so on. What is the real issue? Of course, during Mr. McCallum's presentation, he mentioned that we are ready for change, but the basic connectivity was not there. The internet connection was not stable and so on. I think not all places, but I do understand his constraints. But let's listen from a consultant point of view from Frost & Sullivan. We have Mr. Hazmi Yusof, who's also the Managing Director of Frost & Sullivan Malaysia. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, MTDC, for inviting me. I think what was mentioned by Datuk Nur Halim yesterday was quite a strong point, that out of 80,000 companies, SME companies, only 600 actually applied for the readiness assessment program. So it says a lot of things. And another thing that I want to quote from yesterday was that the SME Corp CEO, Encik Nur Azmi, mentioned that Malaysia's SME export, it's about 15%, meaning 15% of SMEs are exporting its goods. And I think that's where the gap is. And I remember interviewing SME players over the years, and one thing that struck me and stuck with me for so long is that one of the interviewee mentioned that, you know, Hazmi, we are the most pragmatic people around because we can't afford to make mistakes, right? We have a working capital that's maybe 2, 3 months, 4 months working capital. We cannot make mistakes. So anything that we do have to be fairly practical, fairly pragmatic. So coming back to this, is the big question that we should ask is, why should SME adopt Industry 4.0? Why? What is the strategic imperative for SMEs to adopt it? So if we can't answer it, or say, oh, you'll make it faster, does that faster equates to better revenue? Not sure. No, they're not going to jump onto it. So it has to be a very, very a clear thought process in terms of why should an SME adopt Industry 4.0. A bit of scary sound bites to say that, oh, you're going to get overtaken by competitor. And I think they've heard that many, many times over the years. So my perspective after sitting down yesterday and some of the data that we also got from our side is that to make it an imperative goal is to expand their market. So today, if you look at SMEs, they're only 15% of them are exporting, and it probably dominates by the E&E sector. You can understand that most of our SME doesn't export, right? So most of our SME plays in the domestic market. I have my part of my job is also to cover Indonesia, and I can tell you the Indonesians are moving very fast forward. The intensity of competition is something that Malaysia doesn't have, right? It is just more intense. So that makes them a bit more aware of what's new, what's the new market out there, how do I remain, or how I become more competitive. So if we would, in my opinion, if we were to make SMEs embrace Industry 4.0, we have to push them or support them in terms of exporting their services, exporting their goods or services abroad, right? Because I think you look at our competition at the macro level, right? Sooner or later, the likes of Gojek, and they are coming here already, will come to Malaysia. Any SMEs in Indonesia, after competing, surviving, growing in Indonesia, will come here healthier than us. They're just stronger than us, right? Because intense competition on that side. So when they come here, just like Gojek, they're able to have a kind of hand-to-hand combat with Grab, right? Because they are competitive, because they are fit in that sense. So I think for us, Malaysia, we have to look at the market in a broader perspective. Being a SME and targeting domestic market will, we will get new competition around the region. And so I think from a government perspective, I think a lot of focus have to be, a lot to be placed in terms of how do we get SMEs to play, away from just the domestic market.
Okay, that is from the consultant point of view. Today when we talk about IR 4.0, none of you here are aliens actually, because so much of amplification, so much of news has been put forward, so much of conferences when we talk about IR 4 and so on. And we have our previous speaker from the business point of view and also consultant. Before we go to the other successful consultant there, I'm also representing the Malaysian IoT Association, which is the Center of 9 Pillars, part of the collaboration with MTTC, right? We have our members who are good players in the industry, who are very relevant, who exist before even the IR 4 point we've been talking in the market today. They've been disrupting the market, they've been supporting the industry and so on. But when it comes to the concept of government agencies, right? When we want to push forward a motion of IR 4, in my opinion, many agencies are championing this. Some have beliefs that IR 4.0 only applicable for manufacturing industry, right? So people who are in the services industry, they might have this perception saying that it's okay, IR 4 is for manufacturing, so we can wait till the next phase comes to us. We probably have Industry Revolution 5, or the definition itself, industrial revolution, or fourth industrial revolution is nothing to do with us. But I would say, I have a different view on it. I say the disruption takes place in all industry, all sectors, whether you like it or not. I would not say that let's adopt the IR 4.0. I would say that let's ride on the IR 4.0. That is more, I would say, rightly said for the current disruption era. Okay, now let's hear from another successful businesswoman here. She's from Globetronics. Globetronics is a very successful industry out there. Many of you all may not heard about Globetronics. It looks like a foreign company, but it's a Malaysian company. They are supporting industry to many other electronics and products out there, right from your mobile phone. I cannot mention certain brands. Probably they have signed up some disclosure agreement and so on, but they are very, very successful with the top brands. So let's hear it from you, Ms. Heng. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dato Sri. Thank you, Dato Nohalim and MTDC team for inviting us. So before I start, I really want to, Mr. Kalon talked about culture. So I really want to mention one specific phrase, which is our founder and chairman's favorite phrase. It's called, begin with the end in mind, right? It's habit number 2 from the 7 habits of highly effective people. Why do I want to ask this question? Yeah, Stephen Covey. Right. So before I do any sharing, I just want to ask the audience, we have great platforms like this where we talk about Industry 4.0, but after you step out of this hall, at the end of today, what are you going to do about it, right? So what is the end in mind? I hope we can all achieve. I hope my message that we are going to share will deliver is we will all walk away, all of you here, you will walk away thinking, where can I start implementing Industry 4.0, okay? Regardless if you're SME, which part of your process you can start. If you're a solution provider, which industry, which problem I should target. If you're a research institution, what kind of projects, where, in which area I should focus on. So that is really something that I hope, the end in mind, when all of you walk out from here, you will start this thinking process. So I hope that's what we can achieve. So maybe, can I have the Okay, first, a little bit about Globetronics for those of you who don't really know Globetronics. So I wrote here, humble beginnings. How did Globetronics started? It started in 1991. Two founders, very comfortable jobs in Intel, very big corporate, managing global businesses. They decided to take their own pocket money, come out and start up their own businesses. Challenging, right? You are earning five-figure salary, very comfortable, have a large workforce. Why would you want to do that, right? So, since 1991, Globetronics started this way, right? We were just providing burn-in services. And then throughout the last 28 years, we became assembly, packaging, doing integrated circuits, all kinds of developmental capabilities we co-developed, just like what Dato' Sri mentioned. Later, I'll talk a little bit about where the space we are in today. So, our vision, very clear. You know, back to our founder, begin with the animal. Our vision is, we're not going to participate anywhere. We want to be the business partner of choice in very niche, something that we can be good at. So with that in mind, that was how always we work. And later I will share why is this applicable to Industry 4.0 and why it's applicable to you, right? Okay, Globetronics evolution, knowing when to pivot. If you look at it, 1991, that's when the rise of personal computing, that's when Bill Gates has this vision that every house should have a computer, right? So that's when Globetronics started to be in business. But we didn't stop there. When PCs start to plateau, so many people have PCs, PCs are not growing, nobody are buying so many PCs anymore. We moved from producing PCs to a bigger space, which is LEDs, right? Just now, I think Mr. Calum showed his factory all using LEDs, right? Those are some of the LEDs that we produce, because at this point, we produce to supply to 3 out of 4 of the largest LED manufacturers, MNCs in the world, Europeans, US, those biggest designers, best LEDs, those are the time that we play a huge part of the market. That's why you see the LED word is very big, right? Then you can also see early 2000s, cars started to have electronics. Globetronics worked really hard to get certification to be qualified to produce electronics in automobiles. Now we fast forward to nowadays. Rise of mobile phone, a phone in every hand. So where we are in this space, okay, maybe I illustrate a little bit. When you take this phone, okay, and every time you look at the screen, when you're in a dark place or bright place, the brightness of your screen changes, right? That is the type of sensor that we are producing and we're controlling. Second thing, what else are the space that we are in? You wear a smartwatch, correct? Every time you want the page on the smartwatch to turn, you make a slight adjustment, right? That is the space we are in, right? And those who are already buying wireless earphones, when you tap, you can hear the sound increase or reduce. That is the space we are in. So why is this all relevant to Industry 4.0? The reason why Globetronics started off from a startup, seed money $2 million from the founder. Today, market capitalization of more than $1 billion in the KLSE. How did we come today? Along the way, the decision to invest in technology that matters, the decision to take the risk, to try something new, to change the business model, that has always been the good decisions that our leaders have made, my CEO, my chairman, our founders have made to propel the businesses to where we are today. So if you're SMEs, and if you think, how can I sustain and how to grow, you have to know your market and know when to propel. So how to know when to make this decision? It's very simple. When your bottom line hurts, when your pocket hurts. When did we start to make this decision? When we realize that this product is no longer making money. When you see that your margins is already reducing, then do you need someone to tell you to change? No, you're not making money. Nobody will give you grants, nobody will give incentives, and nobody will help you to make more money. You have to find a space or a way or a method to earn more money. And that's where Industry 4.0 come in. Okay, before we continue, we have to still address the problem that Dr. Sri mentioned, right? Why are SMEs not pursuing Industry 4.0 aggressively? Okay. First one, very obvious. We talk a lot, I think just now Mr. Anders and a lot of the speakers talk about digitization. Mr. Killam also talked about digitization. Most SMEs are not even close to 3.0. How to achieve 4.0, right? And the major part of 3.0 is digitization. What is the meaning? If you don't know at any point how much inventory you have, if you don't know at any point who your customers are, how can you grow the business? Just now we talked about the milkshake story, knowing what is the job to be done. If you don't even have the data of who your customers are, when they are buying, how do you start? So this is very difficult, okay? In Globetronics, I think we are very lucky. In the early years, when we started, our founders started the company, they made a decision not to just buy an off-the-rack ERP, MES system. You know, a lot of SAP, very expensive, right? Customization, very expensive. So the decision we made at that point was, we hired a team of software specialists from India, coupled with some software engineers from, this is way back, early 90s, to start up, to write the entire system, how to manage goods, shopfall system, HR system. So everything is done in-house. So today, we are very fortunate, okay? We have resource and we have people that can help us continue to integrate and do this Industry 4.0. And in the past, it's very difficult for SMEs to adopt digitization. Why? It's very expensive to buy servers. It's very hard to hire software programmers. But now, you don't need to do it yourself. There is a lot of freeware. And if you don't need to buy hardware servers, there is cloud, very cheap. In fact, we also converted to cloud. Rental can go down to a few $100 space. Can you afford to digitize? Now, I say yes. If you explored digitization years ago, maybe somebody gave you a quotation that is crazy, crazy expensive. You think it's not possible. But now, there is so many software programmers that our education system has cropped up. A lot of entrepreneurs creating software programs specific to point of system, or inventory management, or financial. You just try out something for free, and then you can begin this journey of digitization, right? Secondly, lack of technological knowledge, fear of the unknown. I have to say, some of the words here are very bombastic. AI, drones, big data is very bombastic, very difficult. I know even sometimes some of the IT people that I want to send to forum, they tell me they don't want to go. They say, let me be more ready before I come to the forum, because people are so afraid, right? So I really want it to be as simple as possible. We don't want to talk about the big jargons, and I really want to talk about practical. Then you mentioned practical, right? What are the practical applications that we can do? So later I want to talk about that a little bit, right? And just now, I think Mr. Azmi also mentioned, domestic market supply still not facing direct exposure. So you don't feel I need to change now, right? Because your customers are still the people around you, like, hey, give me more business, give me more business. But for us, our direct competitor is Taiwan, is Thailand, is Vietnam. The customer asked me today, Taiwan is giving me this. What are you planning to do? Taiwan is giving me 99.9% yield. Why are you 99.8% yield? So we have to change. But for the SMEs, maybe you think, this nothing to do with me. I can still survive like this. We, at Globetronics, we support a lot. We always buy from our local partners and local industries. Key difference that we see. I give an example of fabrication house. We fabricate a lot of parts, and we do a lot of development where we need to fabricate fixtures and parts. So we go to our very long-established partner. Say, hey, come, I want to fabricate this part. I need it in 4 weeks, because the customer only give me the design, 1 day design, and ask me to produce in 2 weeks, okay? So I asked my fabrication, can you deliver the fabrication in 4 days? Because I need the cycle time of 7 days. They tell me, cannot. I only want 5 parts, cannot. So you see, my mold, my this one, I need minimum order quantity, So they say, cannot. Okay, this is the first problem. Second, they say, if you buy a minimum quantity of how much, I can give you cheap price. Okay, so it becomes a struggle, because I need to give cost down to my customer every quarter. right? I go to a small, newer startup, or I even go to a partner from Singapore. My Singapore customer recommended me someone. Can deliver in 4 days, okay? Can give cheaper price, okay? Why? Because they're using totally different technology. For fabrication, they say, oh, you need to have a certain quantity. My production is like that. For the newer ones, they say, okay, I have a CNC, I have a 3D printer, I can build for you some prototypes, and later we can talk about long-term business. So if you're SME, you also have to think long-term business. Are you willing to give free or a cheaper cost to work with a partner like us, so that when this project becomes confirmed, then the benefit will come in. So let's go to the last point about all tools, they feel not fully depreciated, right? Or don't really want to buy new equipment because cannot get ROI. ROI is always a topic. ROI is always a topic for SMEs, right? Yes, ROI is important. For us, ROI is also important. But what is also important? Machine utilization rate is also important. If you talk about your machine, you say it's very expensive, but your machine is idling. It's not fully utilized. Why are you not offering it to be run, to be utilized at all times, even if it makes making a little bit less money? So that is also a question that we need to think and change in the mindset. Lastly, on the owners and leadership commitment is unclear. Why I say that? In many forums that I go to, I see the leaders send a lot of the IT people or the executive people. It is hard. I think Mr. Anders talked about the young people challenging the leader, right? It is very hard, right? How often will the boss listen to the young people, right? Very, very little, right, Mr. Killam? I have to say, even I challenge my boss, right? And we have a very strong friction most of the time because we're trying to push for things to be different, and until today, we're still fighting and still trying to make a point. Why I said the owner leadership is correct? Because the owner has to define, or the leader has to define which problem I would like to start. Okay, so this go back to, if you're SME owners, the first question you have to ask is, do you have a pain point? Some problem that is making you so worried about the business. I think that, to me, is the starting point. Which are the areas that are causing you to lose money? Are you losing your customers to someone, to a country, to a competitor, or to a totally different type of technology? Are you having an inability to predict what kind of output, what kind of material to produce? Are you not able to fulfill the customer demand? When it goes up, you're building something else. When it goes down, you're building something else. Are you unable to do that, right? So what you want to achieve has to start off being very clear and defined by the leaders. So do you want to have top-line growth? And a lot of people talk about cost cutting. So everybody's idea about Industry 4.0 is about cost cutting. Okay, so I don't want to talk about so much about that. And finally, opportunities like risk mitigation, where things like spare part maintenance and things like that. Right? So these are the few areas that I think we really should think at. So another perspective is engaging, understanding how the customer life cycle is. So for example, if your pain point is you don't know who your customers are, right? Or you don't know who your competitors for the customer are, or you don't know what products your customer are. The first step you should do is digitize. Digitize your products so that you can have some idea who your buyer's journey is. And then you can change your production design and your production planning to help your process. To me, this is already one good implementation of Industry 4.0. You don't need to do robots and everything. Just start off with this. Or, second one, B2B to B2C. Why do I say that? Some people feel like we are not in the consumer space. I supply to businesses. But do you know that my purchasers, they Google when they want to find someone who can sell me FA equipment, failure analysis equipment, someone who can sell me HEPA filters, or someone who can even sell me computers. Now, we go to Lazada. Strange, right? Why do we do that? Because previously, we worked with a lot of dedicated partners to buy PCs and computers and laptops. But these vendors, they take 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I asked them, why does it take so long to buy a computer? Dell can deliver to you immediately, right? They said, oh, because we are enterprise version, software, many problems. But businesses who decided to list themselves directly in Lazada, we buy from Lazada now. We change our finance, PR, PO, whatever system to able to do instant online purchase. And this is the same for all kinds of MNCs, large or small. So regardless whether you are directly selling to customers or selling to businesses, online presence is very important. If you cannot be Googled, you are ancient. Nobody will be able to reach out for you. So this is the first part. So know a specific problem that you want to address. Secondly, if you have a problem like you have a lot of inventory, or you don't know how to customize your product, or you have a problem with the quality of the product. Okay, this one easiest to justify. If you have an area you're producing, maybe for us we're producing a part using a lot of epoxy material. We keep losing material on this part. A lot of material that we lose from this part. Don't need to automate your entire line. We start off by saying, okay, this machine specifically, what do we want to know about this machine? We said, we want to know how much volume of epoxy it dispense at every second. How many products it's going to produce, and what is the pressure that my technician has been setting up and down that we cannot control. Let's just look at this. Specific to this machine, what we can do. Together with our team, so this process in our organization, my CEO is directly involved because it affects the bottom line. Because material is a big component of our cost. So we will sit down with the engineer and say, what is the input? What is the output? Okay? And as SMEs, and us also, we cannot do everything ourselves. I cannot upskill my engineer to be good in machine integration, PLC, Raspberry Pi. I cannot be expert in a cloud. I cannot be. So this is when I think you should look for platforms like C09, the MTDC platform, and partners who are good. Know when is a time for you to use your own strength, and know when is it that you can just buy solutions and get people to give you offer solutions. But first, you need to define the problem and what you want to solve very, very clearly and specifically, right? Okay, I move on now. Okay, this one is a long and complicated journey. So I just want to list down, these are the 9 pillars. You will see 9 pillars and some specific applications of, if you're in specific space, what will you think of doing and what you want to do? For us, big topic that we have to focus on is system integration, traceability. Why? Our customers want to know at every point, this sensor that goes into the phone, when was it produced? Which machine was it produced? Which operator ran this? What kind of material that is being used? You think, why is this important, right? Okay. Everybody said, don't know it's important. Well, of course, to you it's not important. But if you are the person who is carrying the faulty phone or driving the faulty car, and someone gets into, for example, touch wood, an accident in a car, you need to have this immediate data to recall all the affected parts and all the affected supply chain and manufacturing partner that's been involved. Because nowadays, regardless whether it's automotive or consumer device, the motto is zero tolerance to defect, zero defect. And if you don't have data traceability in our world, there's no way the customer will look for you. No way the partner will look for you, because the first and most important criteria is every time I want to know a problem, I need to know which batch it come from, what day it come from, which machine it come from. So this is a very, very good incentive for us to start. In fact, we have no choice. Everybody has to do it. Right? I give other examples like retail. Okay? For retail, maybe you don't notice. Okay? In some ways, retail has been doing their own Industry 4.0 already. One big problem that retail people experience is very difficult to find people, reliable people who come to the front, like people who sell, or people who come to work, the front-end people, very hard to find. So if you notice, to combat this problem, a lot of them have been applying point of sales, have been combating place your order yourself, correct? Do you notice that? Do you think because they like to adopt the technology? No, it's because they have a problem to find reliable people. Why? Because I plan to have 4 people helping me in the shop. But suddenly 2 MC, 1 sick. Suddenly I have no one manning the shop. Is this a sustainable business? No. So they are pushed and have no option but to adopt technology. So this is another example. I think recently also we looked at this government announcement that we want to do the 5G adoption, right? So one of the space that they talk about is a traffic light. Okay, traffic light sounds good, right? So why do we want to do it? Again, I think everybody in KL, just like me yesterday, we experience this. Currently, MTDC housed me in the next door, which is a Pullman Bangsa. So we were driving, and in order to reach next door, actually it took me almost 1 hour because of the traffic jam, right? So if we adopt this 5G traffic light, what will change? What problem will be solved? It should help to elevate the traffic jam situation. Why? Because it will be able to understand when certain routes are free, and they'll be able to change and manage the traffic flow. And sometimes you also have this problem where you go to one traffic light, you stop, and then you go to another traffic light, you stop, and then you go to another traffic light and keep stopping. Oh, it's very frustrating, right? But you see in TV, they can just switch it on and all the lanes become green, right? So with intelligent traffic management and traffic lights management, these are the improvements that we can see. So instead of building more roads and more highways and more, maybe the fundamental problem is how can we manage the traffic flow better? And that is a use case of Industry 4.0. So there are many other examples I don't want to go to in this detail, and this may sound very busy. Okay, my boss, when he looks at it, he say, edit, edit, edit. Make it simple. Talk about something specific that people can understand and relate. So I don't want to talk about this too much. I just hope you can take this and start thinking, you know, where can I start applying? So just a simple one. Take action to start right now. Define what is your vision, KPI. Incorporate what the customer need. Don't apply technology for the sake of technology. I want to have robots. I just get robots. No, don't do that. Okay, that's the thing you should not do. Set up a pilot, something small, achievable, something that you can understand and do yourself. And actually, I agree, be prepared to fail. Prepare to fail. We fail so many times before we get success. So set up small so that you can afford to fail, right? Engage in the people. Tell the people why you want to do, because you need a team to be engaged and work on it together. Map your internal, external process and get help from technology selection, because it's really hard. You wouldn't know what is the best technology or solution provider. These are the areas that you don't need to start studying, you know, and become expert in Python programming, or you don't need to do that. You can get people to give you advice on this, especially for SMEs, and celebrate the small success. And when you happen to, you know, be successful in one small area, continue to expand and expand and expand, because I40 is not a revolution. It's not like today I'm not I40, tomorrow I become I40. I40 is an evolution. It's something that slowly creeps into your life. You know, it's just like 28 years ago, we have this thing called World Wide Web. You all know heard about it? You know, when you have heard World Wide Web, you say, at that time, I was still maybe in university or something, right? I still remember we still rely on books. It's not so easy. When you want to learn about a subject, you still need to go to library. You still need to spend a lot of money to buy books. So those people who can afford to buy more books can do better in school, or you have to sit in a library a long time to do better in school. But now, unknowingly, you realize this World Wide Web, this internet thing, is become part of our life. It's not a binary, not 0 and 1, you know. It's slowly creeping into the life. Now, can you imagine if you want to know a topic, but you cannot search for it? What do? Dilemma, right? Now you don't know what to do without technology, right? And this is going to be the same case for Industry 4.0 as well. The machines are going to get more and more intelligent, and they're going to make decisions on how to adjust pressure. And maybe 20 years down the road, you cannot imagine when a machine breaks down, you don't know what to do because the machine will be able to do it intelligent for you. So I think this concludes my thoughts and my sharing process. So I hope this starts the thinking process of identifying where should you start. Okay, I think that's me. Pass it back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you very much. That was from the point of a very practical and pragmatic approach if you are still finding out how to embark into IR 4.0. You see, I picked up two things here. Okay, one is she was talking about simply let's not be fascinated with all the pillars and technology. That's what she's trying to suppose. She should start somewhere small. Number two, she was talking about solve a problem. Basically, I'm trying to conclude. Solving a problem means, you see, this IR 4.0, this industrial revolution, is not a thing that you should go into it. It's actually an enabler. It's not a thing, it's an enabler. Enabler to add value, to find a new pathway, to give new experience to your customers. All right? So it's just another value-added segment in your business. It is not something that you need to change tomorrow so that otherwise you will go bankrupt. The part where that you go irrelevant is because the industry is disrupting and you are not seeing from the client point of view. Customer experience is another thing. You know what actually the customer wants. Those days was the seller-centric business where we determine what to be sold and what to customers to use. Now it's more like quality of life, what they want to solve. Basically, if you can solve somebody's issue, then you are in the business. Simple as that, all right? So you got to ask what customer wants and so on. Before I move into the robopreneur, Dr. Hanafia, I would just like to show something in my slide. Can somebody please? Another one, please. Yeah. I don't know why. Okay, sorry about that. Is it coming up? Okay. Not that. Another slide, please. It comes with Boston Dynamics video. Okay. If you can, I think all of you all are familiar with this video. It is viral in the Facebook. Not this, the previous one, please. If you can see this robot developed in it's a Boston Dynamics technology whereby the robot can flip, can carry things and so on. Many of you all have seen that, right? So when you say robot and showcase this to an SME, what happens? This is Atlas. I think we can pause this. I just want to show this. Okay. If you see the previous video, you can see the robot is running and performing a lot of activities and so on. As an SME, when you look at this, you'll be thinking that, okay, fine, IR 4.0 and that's a robot. How is this relevant to my industry? Number one. Number two, if this guy spend millions of money researching this, so when this goes into the market, I got to spend millions of money to use this robot to carry my things. And how I'm going to educate my staff to communicate with this robot, right? Well, it's the thing, when you come revolution, right, you have to show the big picture. That's what they're doing. The message is they're showing you the big picture, what robots can do and so on. But in our point of view, SMEs, robot means not necessarily the robots that what you see now. Example, when you have new staffs coming in to work, onboarding process, right? What do? You create an email for them, and then you get them enrolled in your HR system, then you install certain things in their PCs and so on, right? This is done manually by somebody, right? By the time somebody first reported to work, for say 9 o'clock in the morning, a senior staff actually do all this up to evening and probably not completed this particular job. So it's very manual based. Somebody sitting down and create the onboarding process itself, right? So how does robotics comes into here is, we call it RPA, robotic process automation, whereby you can enable certain tasks, right? And these tasks, these applications are available in the internet for user license basis and so on, right? This simple process can actually help you in terms of repetitive tasks and so on. You can eliminate somebody's work, somebody's task for redundant works like this, repetitive tasks. So robotics means also things like this, like when you first writing in your notepad and then when you go to Microsoft Word, right? We never thought that we will be using Microsoft Word in those days, right? But it eases our job and it exists in our day-to-day. You know, we can do corrections and so on. And the values keep adding there. We can use Microsoft Word everywhere, the word processors, you know, different kind of brands are there and so on. So the robotic process itself, you know, the automation of the process can be also for SME doing a simple onboarding process using a RPA, right? So SMEs, you don't have to be afraid to go into this phase when you see a lot of hype about robots jumping here and there, things are happening, you know. All these are to show you the big picture, to say that this is what's coming and thing. But it goes according to your business. Meaning, if you have a problem to solve in your organization or in your business, solve accordingly and apply the pillars accordingly, right? So what you have to do is that before you go into this IR 4.0, first you must understand your pain point first. Go and do some analogy and have a brainstorm session with your staff. What are the tasks we are repeating? Are we into digitalization phase? You know, when you find out that, go one by one and you're already there. You're already on board in IR 4.0. Okay, before I go further, I could conclude. I'm sorry, I have a bad flu. I'm trying to recover from one. So we have Dr. Anafia here. He is one of the pioneer in terms of robots and so on. He is not doing the robot that I'm talking about. You know, he's not doing the robotic process automation. He's doing the actual robot. And you can see the Boston Dynamics robot flipping and so on. He's nearing to that stage now. All right. So let's have him here. And we were talking about mindset change. We were talking about SMEs. Let's see what he has to say about SMEs and robots, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sri. Thank you, Dr. Halim and MTDC for this opportunity. And I would love to, to say thank you to everyone to be here. And then Robopreneur is actually, we love to be known as a startup company, even though we are making quite good revenue this year. In the way that we are seeing Industry 4.0, probably from a different perspective, yeah? Because the nature of this company is actually came from academic background. Eh? The company was actually established in UITM, and I'm still a lecturer in UITM. And I started the company with 5 of my students. So we gather together and do some, lab things, do some experiment, do some research, and found that it actually can be transformed into a product. And then we have been stationed in UITM MTDC for 2 years, incubators, before we move out to Cyberjaya office. Yeah? So within 4.5 years journey, we have seen the transformation of Malaysian initiative from previously like a biotech into a more advanced, approach, so-called Industry 4.0. Eh? But from our point of view, we do think that this Industry 4.0 that been implemented in Malaysia is not really have the best alignment, yeah? Because we are actually taking the model of European Industrial Revolution 4.0 like Germany or other countries, where they already have a very strong foundation in terms of technology. Yeah? I agree with SKF. I agree with companies from Germany like ABB, FANUC, everything. They are easily can adopt and implement Industrial Revolution because they already have the foundation of that particular technology. For us, Malaysian, we are still very much changing around. We are not really have a very stable education system. We are able to produce the future needs of the technology and so on. Yeah? And when we try to mold our country from very agricultural, very resource-based, E&E manufacturing into a very technological approach, when we start embracing robotics, artificial intelligence, it's kind of shock, especially for the manufacturing, where they already have, done a lot of things inside their manufacturing facilities that able to produce revenues, billions of revenues. Why they need to change their way of process into IR 4.0? Some of them is really have done it for quite some time. And we're talking about the whole landscape of Malaysia industry. We do think that we are focusing on not very accurate direction. We do think that Industry 4.0, the main strengths actually come from a non-industrial sectors. Yeah? Because why? Because in Industry 4.0 is talking about technology, it's talking about R&D, it's talking about human talent development, it's talking about the foundation of technology itself. Yeah? So how many of our SMEs or even big players in this Malaysia having their allocation for R&D developments? Yeah? I believe that not many SMEs having their own specific department for R&D. Yeah? They are more into productions, QA, QC, and so on. I see Globetronic did a lot of internal R&D. That's good. How about the rest of the SMEs? Yeah? So this is why the taking rate is a bit low. Yeah? Because our nature of industry right now in Malaysia is not R&D oriented. Yeah? We are not having too much effort towards industrial R&D. Yeah? And somehow the Industry 4.0 doesn't create new opportunity for businesses. Yeah? It's a bit, if we want to see the Industry 4.0 result to be, to have a good result, we have to wait another maybe 5-10 years. It cannot be a very short term. This is something that needs to be matured by our local technology itself. And I would love to say that we need to empower more on our startup and also SME level to do a lot of exploration on the technology. Yeah? Because why? Because a big company, when they want to embrace into something, they have a lot of justifications. They want to do some R&D, new R&D, they have to see the ROI. Yeah? Whereas we cannot justify R&D by ROI. Yeah? R&D is a burning money. Our company, we are spending more than 25% of our revenue into R&D. Yeah? We are circulating our revenue. Because why? Because this is the way we want to declare to the Malaysian and also the world that we need to have our own technology to be developed. This will encourage and also will develop the whole ecosystem of Malaysia. If more startup and also SMEs being funded, by R&D fund, and they also have the good mindset of developing technology around them, I believe that Malaysian also not only able to success this Industry 4.0, maybe we can also declare to be the initiator of Industry 5.0. Why not? Yeah? Because I've seen that Globetronics, they have been exporting a lot to main brand of smartphone. Yeah? And the Nike, if you buy shoes Nike in US, it's actually made in Malaysia. Yeah? So our technology is there, our capability is there. Yeah? Just that we need to have a good alignment. Yeah? So we think Industry 4.0 in Malaysia, we are focusing on the hard spot. We are pushing the industry to adopt the Industry 4.0. Whereas we need to develop the technology first. We need to empower more small companies, to venture into technological developments. We need to see on the service industry. We need to have a good acceptance and good awareness of populations to embrace more into artificial intelligence, robotics, and so on. Yeah? So by having this good awareness and ecosystem, I believe that the government also will able to allocate, correctly into certain R&D funds into the SME, also the companies to venture more into industrial R&D. Without this strength into the fundamental technology, I believe that Industry 4.0 will not be taken up. The industry will just go on, wherever opportunity that they got, they will just venturing into that and left over whatever been stated on the 9 pillar or 11 pillar of the industry forward and so on. They have the working mechanism, to keep increasing their revenue. But in order for Malaysia to be, to become a country that actually have the fundamental technology, to sustain our economics, to increase our GDP, we believe that the initiative need to be focused on the service industry themselves. We need to have more companies that venture into R&Ds, more agencies that are actually giving opportunity to the young people. We don't want new technology that is human intensive. We want to have a new technology that solving humans' problems, giving more opportunities for humans to explore another technology, so that the whole ecosystem will be developed, and also it will benefit back to the industry itself. If we are too focusing on the industry, to embrace this Industry 4.0, there's a lot of justification need to be made. There's a lot of, budget need to be allocated. You need to have all those, calculation on ROI, everything. But it's more easier if we empower a startup and also SME to have a specific capabilities on that particular technology. So this is what we are doing, and back to our company, we are actually on service robotics, artificial intelligence, and additive manufacturing. So we are actually having our lab and also office in Cyberjaya. Before I pass this mic back to the chairman, I would like to show everyone here aware that we already have Malaysian first humanoid robots. Adam, it was the project by the Ministry of Finance last year. When Tan Sri Irwan came to me, I said, I give you 1 year, can you develop humanoids? I say yes. But inside me, it's very impossible. I killing myself. But we did that within 1 year. We activated the robot in March 2019. And within this 4 or 5 months, we have been working on the training of the machine learning. So this video I would like to show is showing how the machine learning works in terms of conversations. It's a bit long, so maybe you can make it louder. This is a live conversation without prescript. It's a natural conversations.
Can you help me with linguistics? What is linguistics? I now release all feelings of hopelessness and despair. Linguistics is the scientific study of language. It involves analyzing language form, language meaning, and language in context. The earliest activities in the documentation and description of the language have been attributed to the 68th century BC Indian grammarian Pop, Eni, who wrote a formal description of the Sanskrit language in his day.
sometimes he get confused. Okay, I think we can stop here. Thank you. So the rest of the video you can get it from our Facebook. So the point here is this is one of the example of how the intelligence of machine learning can be benefit into human and machine interactions. So this particular technology not only for the robots, because we already spin off the speech recognition and also the facial recognition into a single product. I mean, we can just apply it to another application like smart home or smart city and so on. Okay, so but then I pass back to Dr. Sri.
Thank you, Dr. Anafia. It looks like the robot that we just see can be used for better customer experience, avoid repetitive tasks. You know, putting someone in the reception now, we can see in the government department, we can put a humanoid robot. It's a good business, I think, right? But anyway, you see, this is a process. The concept is already there, right? By the time it matured, it'll take some time, right? So, we saw from the technological point of view, how IR4 is actually maturing in Malaysia in terms of R&D and so on. But apart from that, IR4 with SMEs is also about solving problems, right? First, we have to identify problems. If you're in a different segments of businesses, find out how it can solve your problem. Number two, how it can add value to your customers and what kind of different segments it can create. You see, will you be happy if I say that if you have A segments of customers, will you be happy that if you find out there's another segments of customers that you can explore with? That you can explore through IR 4.0. So it is not a thing, it's not a plug and play that you come and fix it in your organization when you pay a bomb and you say that tomorrow you're IR 4.0. No, it requires a mind shift, it requires a digital, it requires leadership, right? All this, it has to come in place and it takes time. But to have something going on now, find out your pain point, find out what you're going to solve and so on. The way I come from, one of the representation, which is the Malaysian IoT Association. In our association, we have members who are disrupting many industries, all right? We are mainly focusing in IoT and data, all right? So how we disrupting the business is that we collaborate and we work together, right? Example, when you find a problem to solve, our IoT guys actually can solve the problems because of connectivity, data, sensors we can put together and add value to customers. So when we create segments like this, we become very, very relevant to the industry, and adopting IR 4.0 has become easier when you identify what is the problem. Instead of putting that back of your mind saying that I need to invest on this, you know, because everybody is talking about IR 4.0, so in my company, just to fancy it, what they will do is, I've seen this, some of the companies, they have this area, they call that, this is my IR 4.0 research center or and all that. Whenever you visit their company, they say that this is their place to show. You see, IR 4 is not a place for you to show. It's got to be everything, right from customer experience, how people walk into your reception and how you want to cut down the processes, right? How you want to make digitalization to take place. When you're sleeping, your business transaction still goes on. That's also IR 4.0, your e-commerce. You get what I mean? If you have a retail shop and you pay a rent of 2,000 ringgit every month, example, you can only utilize it from 9 to 5. After that, nobody is coming to your place, right? So it is not full utilization. What if I tell you that customers still come to your place 24 hours via e-commerce? So if you can buy that idea, I'm sure that you'll invest on it, isn't it? You want to get the e-commerce in place, then you want to get the data, and so on. Most importantly, all right, many of us are interested in how many new customers are we getting, all right? How about how many customers are we losing? Do you have the data? Think about it, right? So I will go to the questions right now. Of course, this question is channeled to our LH Plus CEO. To LH Plus, how do you get the raw material? Is it from waste plastics or crude oil? That's a trade secret, isn't it?
I don't want to turn this into another plastics, single-use plastics issue. Frankly, it's all fossil-based, or the latest one is from the, especially from Middle East, is gas-based. Gas-based, of course, the new one coming on will be what they call from shale gas, from US, from Canada, and all that. When you talk about using waste plastics, all that, you see we do food contact. Has got to be FDA approved, has got to be everything. And normally people use recycled plastics to do some other products, non-food contact. Of course, the other thing will be bioplastics. Bioplastic is where you use corn or starch. In the US, you use corn. Okay, in Asia, they use tapioca or cassava because it's cheap and abundant. In Brazil, they will use sugarcane. But in the US, when they use bioplastics, they turn corn into plastics. Cost of tortillas went up. And what happens is that when you talk biodegradable plastics, the other one is biodegradable. People think it's going to biodegrade, so I can simply throw. And ladies and gentlemen, when you throw rubbish, plastics on the ground, and when it breaks up, you need 50 degrees centigrade, minimum 50 degrees centigrade for plastics to decompose. You need sunlight, you need oxygen, you need moisture. And when that happens, it breaks up into small fragments. The wind blows it, the rain washes it to the drain, to the rivers, to the sea, to the ocean. Marine life thinks it's plankton, they eat it, lands on our dining table. That's bad. So, ladies and gentlemen, the issue with plastics is not because it is not good. It's because people choose to throw rubbish. Like what Anders said, you got to know what your customers want. So if you choose to dispose of rubbish on the walkway, into the drains, in the rivers, whose fault it is? It's our fault. We should throw rubbish in the right place. People like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, all that, are trying to reuse recycled plastics for the bottles and all that. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if there is an alternative and the plastic is not good and cheap, why would they change from glass to plastics? What we're talking about, carbon footprint. You should look at the whole issue from a holistic approach and not say, I've got headache, you just give me Panadol. I've got toothache, you give me something else. I've got diarrhea, you give me something. You should look at the total health. What is wrong with me and what should be done? So the approach is not only this. Imagine if you were to replace all these plastic bags. When people talk about single-use products, plastics, they think about the shopping bag. They think about the thin bags where you throw away. Not wrong. But single-use plastic includes all the medical products, the blood bag, the catheters, the syringes. Imagine you don't use that. So the thing is that imagine if you were to just replace plastic bags with paper bags. How many trees you need to cut down? The moment you cut down trees, you lose oxygen, you have more carbon dioxide. Trees absorb carbon dioxide and give oxygen. Imagine the soil erosion. Imagine when you have the trees cut down, you have to do all the processes. You have to bleach it. And where does the bleach goes? Into the drain, into the river. And if it's not properly recycled and processed. And then imagine if you would send 1 million plastic bags, for example. Maybe use one big lorry load. To send 1 million paper bags, you probably need 6 or 7 lorry loads. And 40% of fossils, carbon dioxide pollution comes from fossil fuel. From all
That's
the
a very
trucks.
comprehensive answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll just,
So I think this
well,
is something we've got to look at.
But let's
We will
look forward to the questions as well. I really, it's become an environmental talk for some reason or another, and we like to really still focus on SMEs and their highs and lows and their barriers as well. Yeah. So if we can vet through the questions, Dato Sri.
Okay, I will just go for the second one, right? So, Mr. Hazmi, how do you see plastic waste process industry in Malaysia as general?
I was hoping that vote doesn't go up, but it's going up and up.
You're hoping for that to go down.
I'll be very candid. I don't think I know enough. I know a little bit, but not enough to have an answer to that.
So can we go to another question, interesting question, Dr. Hanafia? Can your company create robots that cooks and cleans that will solve many people's pain points?
Actually, this is a favorite question. So it's domestic. You know that domestic market for robotics will grow up to 37 billion for the next 2020, next year. Just imagine that our company producing a robot that can cook for you. You don't need a food panda to deliver food. You just order from there, and the robot actually will cook the same like the mama stall or whatever, for you. Do you think that you're going to have that? You're going to want to buy that for your house? Yeah.
The raw material will be a question here.
Yeah. Okay. So meaning that nothing is impossible. Yeah. We have several projects in the pipeline. Now we have robotics that doing cleaning for air conducting system, pipeline for Petronas onshores, water systems, all those inspection, also cleaning. That's for industrial applications. For domestics applications, we do have the thing is, in our company, we encourage innovation within our engineers. So sometimes they come up with the new ideas, and we have debates and also, kind of discussion and data session, whatever, and try to materialize these ideas into projects. One of our application engineers is now working on cooking robots, with the 2 hands, using Kinova arms. Still a very infancy level, but who knows, in one day we can have a robot that doing cooking. So all this question, is this possible? With the right funding, with the right team, and the right motivation, I think we can do this one day.
Thank you, Doctor. I think the question, cooks and cleans, fine, but how is it relevant? How is it disrupting the industry? How viable it is? It's the answer, but I think you've given the answer on in terms of ducting, cleaning, and so on, which is great. Right, we'll just move on to relevant question. I would love to take the first two, but then let's focus towards SME. Ms. Heng, what are the initiatives done by your organization in the perspective of embracing digitalization?
Okay.
That will be the last question.
Okay, okay, that's a good question, but I have to say, we are almost on the road of fully digitizing all our processes, but that is because we are also in a technology-based organization. What does it mean by digitization, where almost all our machines, we are in the process or already integrated outputs, inputs, okay? We also know at any point how many machines are running, uptime, downtime. So anything that happens in the production floor, actually we are close to digitization. So I would say our organization is a 3.0 to 3.5. So what else that we really would like to digitize that is in our roadmap? I think one area that we really want to digitize is our product development area. We have done a lot of product development where we see, okay, we want to do a packaging. If we put this material, this type of precision package, will it pass the test? Because in electronics, what you need to pass is the reliability test, right? And when you can build everything meet the specs, but it can fail the reliability test. So what I think we should digitize is the characterization of the materials and our product design. What can give fantastic output. So that is the next initiative that we want, because basic digitization in a factory, it's compulsory. If you're working with global partners, it's necessary. All kinds of data traceability, machine outputs, operator, live movement of lots, those are things that we are almost fully digitized, if not going to digitize by maybe in 2 years' time, right? But further effort has to be done also. Like if in Industry 4.0, what you really need to talk about is, first, you digitize and you know where we are. For example, machine downtime. I know my machine is having machine hang. I give a simple term, machine hang 10 times a day. But what to do, right? So you want the machine be able to do the self-correction. I think that is the next hurdle of Industry 4.0. So that's where we are going. Thank you.
Excellent answer, Ms. Heng, and thank you
Sorry,
very much.
If you don't mind, give me 2 minutes to answer the second part of the
I'm
question.
sorry, sir. We're already out of time, yeah? So I'm going to have to wrap
Okay,
things up.
next
Thank
time.
you. Thank you so much for giving so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a round of applause to the panel. And thank you very much to Yang Bahagia Datuk Sri as well.
Just 2 minutes.
All right. As we wrap up this particular session,